Hi everyone,
Hi.
welcome to another session of Girl Talk. I think we're all going in the wrong direction.
Try again, left to right.
Okay.
Welcome to
Girl
Girl
Talk. I don't know if we still got that right. Thank you for joining us again for another show. It's we're just excited to be back, and we're excited, and you can all see from the hint of red splashing across your screen that it's in some little shout out to Valentine's. But we're excited tonight. We have a great episode that we want to talk about. And tonight we have Stephanie McIntosh in the studio with us. Welcome, Stephanie. And we want to talk a little bit tonight about what the lockdown, how it's changed us. So don't get up, don't move, stay where you are. You don't want to miss a moment of this.
Yeah, so I think that one of the things that we all have noticed is that, you know, everyone has coped through COVID really differently. You know, there are some people that COVID has been great. They've birthed businesses out of this. You know, they've met people online possibly. You know, some people have done really well in this season. Some people have bought new houses. I know Sarah and Stephanie have. So, you know, COVID has had a different effect on everybody. But one thing that we know to be true is that there has definitely been a mental effect on people's minds during COVID. Now, anytime you put somebody in any form of isolation, there is going to be an effect. So we've brought Stephanie on today because Stephanie is a social worker. She's trained, qualified.
Disclaimer as well, the weekly disclaimer.
Yes, we'll do our weekly disclaimer as well. COVID tests have been done. Nobody on the show comes onto the show unless they have been negatively COVID tested. So just a little disclaimer before we carry on. But Stephanie, like, just tell us a little bit, obviously in your line of work, what have been the apparent changes and the apparent observations in people's mindsets, mentalities? How do you feel people have coped in this season?
I think it's been quite varied. I think in terms of in the area of social care, it's been very, very there's been a big increase in domestic violence in families, in terms of the fact that children are not at school. There's increase in children's mental health. There's a reduction in services as well in terms of the healthcare services that can be provided for those children because everybody's being redeployed to support in hospitals at the moment. In terms of increase in alcohol use, increase in drug use. So for families that are very vulnerable, it has been quite significant to them, affected their financially as well, especially there's been loss of jobs or furloughs affected people because people are getting into more rent arrears and things like that as well. So in terms of that area, they're really struggling, and I think it's been quite detrimental and a bit more harder to support families because obviously the social distancing protocols as well in place, so it's been really hard.
So we are on, is it wave 3? Is it lockdown 3 that we're on?
Yes.
Kind of lose track. So I feel like
nearly a year now, right?
We're coming
as we're in lockdown.
We're coming around for a year of being in official lockdown, and I think for me personally, lockdown 1, it was okay. It was an adjustment. You know, you're not seeing. But I don't think everyone took it like super serious. The first one.
No, I
the first one I think was more serious.
I think they did take it seriously. I think that since then, I think that there's been a varied mix of things that have contributed to that. I think first of all, people are just over it. But I think that secondly, I think the government's response sometimes to some of those rules that they were laying out, it was very confusing. I think the first time it was quite clear cut, you know, stay at home, don't do anything. And then I think when Boris Johnson came out and started saying, go to work, don't go to work, stay home, don't stay home.
Very confused.
And then they done that whole restaurant incentive.
Yes.
It kind of sent very mixed and confusing messages, and I think it really blurred the line. And I think that they have been navigating, and I by no means think it's an easy task. And I think that anyone can look from the sidelines, including those that are looking at ministers or preachers of the gospel, and make our own judgment calls. But I think that from the inside here, being in a ministry role and having to make on the spot decisions, not knowing whether that's the right one, having to weigh in all of those different factors, like for a church, it's weighing in the mental effects it has when we close our church doors. We can't just close it indefinitely. There's some people, it's literally a lifeline. So I think for the government, I don't take away from that fact that they had lots and lots of things to consider, but I think that their response was confusing to some people. And so I think that now we're in the third lockdown, there's lots of different theories and different opinions, etc. I think for myself, it's been quite challenging from the beginning, because a lockdown for Jason and I, my husband, means we literally don't see each other.
Yeah, of course.
So for us, it's really, I really feel that, Steph, where you know, we had to make a choice very early on that we're going to actually allow this to actually mentally have an impact. And I actually had a ticket booked for April before the lockdown. And I remember that backwards, forwards of tickets being cancelled. At one point, we'd spent over $5,000 just literally rebooking tickets. And, you know, I think it was on the third time of my ticket being cancelled, I was like, we're running out of money. Do we put it on a credit card? What do we do? And then is it because airlines were saying it was 3 months to refund it? And I remember feeling really discouraged. And we had to really take hold of that and say, we can either look at it as we're separate, or we can look at it as we have someone to love. And we have someone to miss. So we had to really quickly and early on grab hold of our emotions and our feelings and our relationship. Because, you know, my husband's been gone since the 4th of January 2020.
Wow.
We're in February 2021. So, you know, the impact of COVID is real. And so we've had to get really creative with our marriage, with our parenting, because he's still my children's parents. We still have 3 children together. But the biggest thing that we had to do first is make a mental adjustment and decide that we're going to choose our response to this. And it could destroy us and rip us apart, or we could actually see it as a really positive. So we've just been hustling. We've just been making as much money as possible. We've been, you know,
but I like that thought, though. You know, you can make a decision to make it as positive as possible. And I think for most people, they've been just being carried, so to speak. Okay, this is happening, so we just go, but there's no actual plan that, you know what, I'm going to try and make it you know, look at the most positive way through this for myself, for my family, so it doesn't have a negative effect. I love this quote I found. It says, our personalities are shaped by our experiences and our social interactions. So those things, the months of being isolated from friends, family and colleagues alters us because those things shape our experiences. And this is a new experience which is shaping, and I'm seeing people that I knew before, but they've changed. The friends that some of my friends, just talking to them, I can, without seeing them, I'm hearing, you know, if I get on the phone with them, they're changed. People are so changed, and one of the things that you hear behind the conversations sometimes is that voice of fear. And even though they're not saying it, that experience is altering them, and many of us are being altered by this experience. That's why I liked what Sarah said, because if you don't get hold of this, that I'm going to try and bring out the most positive from this experience, otherwise this situation will alter us for a long
time.
I
think you've got to hold on to the things that are true to you. You know, there's some things that are non-negotiable. Like, you know, I've always grown up going to church. I've always grown up, you know, I have a strong marriage, and we are a connected family, and so there were certain things that we will find a way to make those things happen. You know, whether that's attended online because the churches are closed, if the church is open, it was very important that what I showed to my children, because they were surrounded by friends that were at 6 and 7 year old and 8 years old were genuinely scared. And so I think that for me, I said this to Granddad when he was dying, you don't get to pick and choose when you're a Christian. You're a Christian, and you, Steph, could attest to this more than anybody, I think, sitting here, that your Christianity isn't ruled by a government system or a pandemic or anything. And so for me, you know, it was really important, and this is what I would say to anybody, that, you know, we've used wisdom, we've followed government guidelines and all of those things, but I think that it's really important that we do assess our responses and how we're responding and why we're responding the way that we do and what we're translating and what we're teaching our children. And that's really been on the forefront of my mind.
Just pause on that note. You know, how we respond in whatever, whether it's a COVID crisis or any crisis in the home, our children, this is how they're learning to manage when they grow up and they encounter that problem. So if they see fear on us, if they see us falling apart, if they see us fighting when there's a problem, guess what? That's going to be their go-to when they grow up.
So let's speak to some of the marriages and to the parents. I know, for example, a lot of the parents with homeschooling, it's tough. I think across the board we've got a very of different ages. I mean, I have Ashley who's doing his GCSEs. I think even in that there's so much uncertainty in terms of their education. You know, it's such a crucial time, I know, for him in his education, where major decisions need to be made in terms of the future of his education. And when there's so much uncertainty, you don't know if they're going to take exams, if they're not going to take exams, how do they decide what sixth form they get into, you know, what is going to look like for his university, you know, future. It's so much uncertainty, and obviously there's a lot of pressure in homes in regards to homeschooling.
I mean, myself and Steph both have 3 kids, but you actually have one that requires even more attention. So you speak to that, because that, I mean, I'm not even gonna lie, like, it's been hard with the 3 kids that I've got. You know, what's it been like for you? Because do you want to explain a little bit?
So in terms of, I've got a son. He's now coming up to 22 months, was born early, so has developmental needs, which means that he requires more attention every day. So it's you know, it's not a case of where you can just put him down and he'll need, you know, observation, supervision all the time. He's not standing by himself just at this time. So that intensifies the amount of supervision that he requires, which then means that we have to then spread ourselves quite thin in terms of, for our other 2 children who are 7 and 9, who require a lot of help and a lot of attention for their own homeschooling. So I think it's just about, I think in terms of managing with that, I think it's about you've just got to breathe and just realise that everybody's in the same situation, and that I think it's just about.
Where do you breathe, in the closet?
I phoned Steph the other day. And I was like, Steph, what are you doing? And she's like, I'm hiding in the bedroom. And I was like, okay, great.
Trying to finish that's life.
Yeah, where's Mummy?
I know, right?
No, Mummy.
I'm telling you, literally, it's I just normally have doors opening midway through meetings, like I was saying earlier. But you know, I think it's just you just have to have that moment where you kind of realise it. You're not all things. You're not a teacher. There's prime ministers, there's politicians that are going through exactly the same thing that you're going through, trying to manage their families at home whilst trying to manage a country. And I think if you take on that onus that you can do it perfectly, I think you can be setting yourself up to fail. You know, you just have to have that. And I think, and I think you need routine. Routine. Absolutely. You need, you know, and
go to bed 5 o'clock.
if you can get them in there, you know. But yeah, so I think it's routine, it's having the activity, and I think it's about as well just creating. I found creating an environment. That's my biggest thing, is that what does my environment say to my family? And I think they would even testify to the fact that we're going to have fun. We're going to laugh. Nothing's that deep.
Yeah.
You know, nothing's that deep.
Do you know what I found really effective when I was in quarantine in Australia? Balloons. Mate, don't shun it. We were locked in a hotel room 14 days, and I remember my dad said to me, pack balloons. And at the time I was like, yeah, okay. We had sports races with it. We played catch with it. They made kites out of it. The balloon was our godsend. It's pretty much practically free. And they will entertain. They play football with it. They can draw on it. They can draw faces on it. Mate, that's
you can make stress toys out of it as
70p,
well.
whatever it is.
Stress toys.
You can do
rice in it. Put rice.
do lots of it. So all the mums out there, go buy yourself
Stress
a pack
toys
of
for her.
balloons. Yeah, the mums are all saying that. But honestly, go buy yourself a pack of balloons. You'll thank me later.
But one thing that I had heard somebody say is, parents, be really kind to yourself, because you're not a teacher. You are actually their parent.
Yeah.
And no one expects you to have the same level of patience or grace as a teacher. That's what they're called and qualified to do. And that's not your role. You're just doing your best. And I think it's really important to understand that your best is enough, whatever that looks like to you, because you know, I'm by no means qualified to teach biology, chemistry and physics
or Spanish
at GCSE level. When Ashley says help me, I'm like,
looks good. Yeah, do you want a sandwich?
Let's rewind 10 years ago, maybe I can help you along there. But it's, you know, it goes completely over my head. But I'm like, you know what?
I feel like they're learning a different school.
School is different. It was like,
I don't remember learning
that. It was like that when we were
they
parenting.
They try to expose us as stupid because it's not the right.
They change it with every generation.
It
was the same thing when you guys were in school. We were like, maths is different.
Like now when they come over, I'm like, oh, you know what? It's okay. Just, you know, you're sitting there googling what the theory is.
I've had to call a friend a few times.
Wow.
Yeah.
But I think that lends us to the fact that, like I said, it's about us being kind to ourselves.
Yeah.
And that leads us on to our next topic, where it all kind of stems from self-love. You know, this is our love episode. But before we can love other people, it's really important that we are kind to ourselves and that we love ourselves. And I know it's like a cliche thing, like, oh, I should love myself before I love anybody else. But it's actually a real thing. And I think that in this time of COVID, self-love is so important. And where you can seek any kind of solace or respite, you should. And whatever that looks like for you is so important that you invest into you. I know for me personally, my alone time is having a bath. And in my house, everybody knows when I go to have my bath in the evening, that is me time. Do not call me. I'm not going to respond to you for half an hour to 45 minutes. Don't knock on the door. Don't call me for anything. I'm unavailable.
Isn't it strange? That's the time that usually people want something from you. It's usually the time. I think for me, my me time is usually like gone midnight. Because that's when they've all gone into that realm of sleep.
Well, I think that what you're saying about self-love, I've really said, you know, I've been reading this book, Eat That Frog, and it's really about time management and managing your time and everything else. I think it's called Eat That Frog. And it's something about a frog and eats it. And, you know, it's basically said, you know, take the big thing that you never get to and just basically eat it. Like, just basically do it. And so I have wanted to read a book for 8 years. Like from beginning to end. Like since basically I've had a child, right?
Listen.
And so for me, I was like, I'm just going to do it. And so every night I stay up and I read a chapter.
That's what I do.
And I've set myself targets where I will finish a book every 2 weeks.
Okay.
I started with, we'll shorten it to 1 week, but every 2 weeks. And you know what? I'm on my second book now.
Okay.
And it's something so simple like that. Like yours may be a bath. For me, that's giving myself love because it's motivating me. I'm reading motivational books. I'm not reading like romance novels. I'm reading, and if that's your thing, that's fine. But for me personally, I want to be motivated. So that's a target that I've set for myself, and so far so good. I'm on my second book, and so I think it's also using little goalposts in your self-love journey of what can I do to give back to me. And for me, reading a book is something that's just for me alone. It's not something that I'm doing for anybody else. It's just for me. So I think that just find those things as well that maybe you've been wanting to get to for the longest time, but you've just not been able to, because that can really give you a sense of achievement.
It's surprising how many people are probably not doing self-love. They're not practicing it, because we can get so lost in life and taking care of everybody else, and we're the last on the burner, and usually the days run out and you didn't have time for any self-love, and that can wear you down. Because you just you get burnout, and you get discouraged because you don't have time for you have time for everyone else. So just want to encourage you. I know it's a hard one sometimes because you've got
and
so
ladies
much.
always put themselves at the bottom.
We do. You're taking care of everybody else's needs, and even reading a book, because that's the time I read. Sometimes I'm sitting up till 3 o'clock in the morning, trying not to wake my husband, reading a book, because that's I want to read, but there's so many times I've come downstairs armed with my book, my notepad, my highlighter, and I just don't get to read the book. I've tried to do the daytime one, and the only way that's possible if there's nobody in the house, and that's never the case. The house is never empty, so I always end up reading. I don't want to stay up till 3 o'clock in the morning reading a book because Alex told me I need to be in bed by 10 o'clock, which I'm still working on that, Alex.
You're not doing it, Alex.
I will get there.
She's not doing it, Alex.
It's on the goal list. It's on the goal list.
Well, I don't know about this week, but find some time for you. Find some time for you. To do whatever, like something as simple as read a book or have a bath where you shut everybody out, put a do not disturb sign big on the door if you have to, but just time for you to just enjoy your own company really.
But I think it's really important that we're speaking positive affirmations over ourselves, because I think that it's great if we have a family and a household that are supportive, but that's not everyone's reality. So not everyone has a home where their husband will leave them to have a bath, and they're understanding about it. It's understanding that everyone is in a different dynamic, and I think that one of the things that COVID has obviously highlighted is that for some homes, if there was dysfunction there, it's only highlighted and emphasized that obviously, like Stephanie said, that domestic abuse has risen in this season. We've heard countless accounts on the news where husbands actually murdered their wives because where usually people would be at work or busying themselves with life, when you kind of put everybody into a confined space, fireworks can obviously tend to fly. And I think it's really important that if we're not receiving positive affirmations from the people around us or in our environment, that we don't wait for somebody to do that. We can do that for ourselves. I know the other day, like, I got home and I was so tired, and I just, when you just like so clumsy, I was like literally dropping everything, spilling everything, I broke a glass, and I just was being so harsh on myself, and I was like, because you're trying to be this like superwoman wife, get the dinner ready, you're like coming from work, you're shattered, you're trying to do a million things, and I think sometimes you can just be so harsh on yourself. And I made a conscious decision to every day write down or jot in a jar or something, a positive affirmation to tell myself well done, or you're doing a great job, or you made a really good dinner today, or whatever it might be, whatever that looks like, so that when I reflect back, I can actually say, so I'm not waiting for anybody else to tell me. I'm actually doing that for myself.
Well, going on what you said, Danny, I have really been focusing on the 5 love languages. And going back to what I said at the beginning, I think it's really, really important that COVID changes, we're in control of how COVID changes,
definitely.
right? So that's what I've determined to do. So I just wanted to, Valentine's Day is coming up
on Sunday, for
on
those
Sunday,
of you that don't know.
for all those men that
on Sunday.
Order your flowers quickly.
No, but don't just order flowers.
because
if my husband's watching, I don't just want flowers.
Okay, so let's just have a quick education on flowers,
please.
before we go any further. For the men that are watching, there's a thought.
I want my flowers.
Yeah, but I want flowers, but
know.
not just any flowers.
Okay, so when you're calling the
Grand
florist,
Prix red roses.
when you're calling the florist and you're asking for flowers, you don't just ask for red roses, guys. You want to order Grand Prix roses. They look like velvet.
Yeah.
They are more expensive, but they
That's okay though.
They are beautiful. So Grand Prix roses is what you ask for. Also, what are some other beautiful flowers? Lilies are lovely as well. Hydrangeas are lovely as well. I know.
My favourite.
Orchids,
That's
things
what's
like
in
that.
season at
It's
the
what's
moment.
in season.
Yeah.
And obviously everything is, escalated. And yes, this is a commercial holiday. And yes, you should be having Valentine's Day every day. Quote unquote.
Instagram quote.
And can I say it's not just for us women to be sitting there waiting for the gifts to come flowing, and then we get upset when it doesn't. I've already ordered my husband's gifts. I've already got them here, so it's both ways. And it's not just for married couples, engaged couples. Send somebody. You can send a girlfriend for Valentine's.
Yeah, I was going to say it's not just for couples.
Yeah, it's not at all
for everyone. So I've actually come up with a couple of things that we could do that I think that would be super fun to do, whether you have children, whether you've just got a roommate, whether you're just living with your family, whether it's just you and your spouse, whether you've got whatever it is, you can do it. So the one thing that I'm going to be talking about is acts of service.
Okay.
Right?
So let's just cover the 5 love languages before we begin. So there's 5 different love languages. These are acts of service, quality time, physical touch, words of affirmation, and gifts. So you're covering acts of service.
Acts of service. Okay. So my daughter Kayla has this thing at the moment about buckets.
That's a good one.
Fill in your bucket, and she believes that God's given each of us this invisible bucket that only he can see, and that our job is to basically fill that bucket every day. And then when the rapture comes, this is her words, when the rapture comes, God looks into everybody's bucket, and whoever's bucket is full is who he takes with him in the rapture. So that's Kayla. I don't have a biblical sound scripture to back it up, but that is the mind.
10 virgins.
Well, yes.
5 were full, 5 were empty. She's on track.
So anyway, taking Kayla's thing, this is something that we've decided to do as a family, and so we're going to start this when we move into our new house. So each person's going to get given a bucket. Now the fun thing with this is this can be like a whole activity within itself. So you could actually give this as a Valentine's gift to your girlfriend, to your friends, to your spouse, to your children, and basically you decorate the bucket first.
Reminds me of our love boxes at the retreat.
Yeah, so you can decorate your bucket, write your name on it, put crystals on it, beads on it, whatever you want. Go to town with your bucket. Once every person has got a bucket, then you just basically can get pebbles. You can order them online, or you can just go into a garden or someone's garden and just collect them and take them.
You can get those from the garden centre. You can get bigger size ones.
And so what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to actually have different jars, and I'm going to actually colour code them. So when we're decorating these, we're actually also going to decorate our stones. So say, for example, we have one that is random acts of kindness. So that might be a red stone, right? And then one might be words of affirmation spoken. That might be a yellow stone, etc., etc. So you have different stones for different categories. And then you create a chart board, right? And so what you do is I will ask my children and they will ask me every day, and the goal is to put a stone in a day.
Okay.
And so what you do is, you know, when they come home from school, what did you do to add something to someone's bucket today?
Okay.
And so they can say, well, I helped Johnny with his schoolwork, or I tidied Maya's bed for her, or they fill in the blank, and I have to say that as well. And what it does is it creates a consciousness of acts of service where we are actually consciously now looking for ways that we can actually do good and pour into others. I think that this is a really fun activity. It's something that can be done in lockdown but also carried on when everything is opened up. I think it's an amazing thing to implement into our families, into our homes, into our way of life. I think that it brings out acts of service really beautiful. It's super creative. It's a fun Valentine's gift. It's relatively cheap. You can order these off of Amazon. You can go for a walk if you wanted to. Go for a walk and actually collect the pebbles. So it could be a really fun way of incorporating the whole family into an activity, but it also is a conversational piece. So it allows us to actually go through and actually talk about our day and how we've been contributors to someone else's happiness.
It's a good idea as well to do the love in a box. Some of you may remember that from the retreat. So something
I loved that.
Yeah, that was so nice, and it just really, I just watched everybody get so excited at the end of the day. So the love in a box was something I did at the retreat when I do women's retreats, where everybody had to bring a shoebox, and we would decorate the shoebox, and you would have your name on top of the shoebox. Everyone made their own personal shoeboxes, and we decorated the whole entire auditorium with shoeboxes at the retreat. And so every day, all the women had an assignment before they came on the retreat to bring at least 7. I think it's about 6 or 7 gifts to put in different people's boxes every day. So you had to make sure you bought enough gifts to put into different people's boxes every single day of that retreat. And at the end of each night, the ladies could go and collect the contents of what was in their love in a box. And it was, sometimes it was cards, it was just things that really affirmed people. And sometimes, I say that to say, sometimes in our families we don't tell each other how much we appreciate them. We don't say thank yous. We just take things, we take from each other.
And a free way to do that is by giving notes instead of
notes is easy. You can put you can make your own cards. You can be creative. You can go back to writing. Sarah was telling me a conversation that she had today with a friend of hers, and she was saying, how much I impacted her life. But people often don't say things until you're dead and you can't hear them anymore. So that's something you can do for your family, or as a couple, if there's no children. That's something that you can do, not just for lockdown, but it's something you can actually carry on long after.
But I think as well, that in this season where everybody is at different places, I think we don't know where everyone's at, and everyone doesn't always necessarily say I'm having a bad day, I'm having a hard day. Love isn't just a one day thing. It's not a Valentine's Day thing. And I think let's get out of the mindset that Valentine's Day is just for couples. Love isn't just a celebration between a man and a woman. Love is something that everybody needs.
Even
my parents have Marley, who I'm the only one that seems to love Marley. And Marley is literally the biggest love bug. Like, he doesn't even understand his size. Like, he's just the softest, most soppy.
Drags you down the road.
He's the most soppy dog, but I love him. And Marley comes and he knows that I love him, so he will literally he rolls on the floor, like he wants me to rub his belly. But even Marley needs love. And I said to my parents a little while ago, I'm like, you need to love him more. I'm like, let him into the living room. But he's just
hairs everywhere.
Let him into your
Your house.
Honestly,
your house.
I I would have Marley.
I'll drop him off for, you can come for play dates.
Exactly. He's on a pet holiday now, Danny.
Yeah, play dates. Yeah.
Anyone that watches the Tuesday Bible study will know that my faith is out there for a dog. I agree. My neighbour has volunteered to let me babysit her chow puppy that she's just got.
He doesn't know yet.
Does now. So what I'm saying is that everybody needs love, and I think that it's so important in this season that we're conscious that we are demonstrating, showing, being intentional with our love towards people. You know, spouses. You know, you're all each other have. You know, one thing, if I learned anything from last week's episode, those of you that didn't watch last week's episode, there's no backup plan. This is it. And you know, there's no going around it, there's no going over it. You have to just go through it, and you can choose every day to be at war with each other, or you can just choose to love each other.
But I think on the reverse of that as well, for those that are by themselves at home and you don't live with anybody and you are following those social distancing guidelines, which we should all be doing, there's no reason why you have to do life alone. And we're going to go into that in a second, but there's lots of creative ways that we can do life together still. Even the bucket thing that I've just, the bucket illustration that I've just given, there's no reason why we can't actually give ourselves accountability to one another and say, you know what, we're going to call each other every day at 6 o'clock. Okay, the same way what I'm doing with my kids, you know, what did you do? How did you fill your bucket today? And put that in your bucket. So don't do life alone. And I think that this is one thing that I've really taken away from this experience is I can control my response to this. And so it's really important, you know, just for those that are by themselves, all of this applies to you as well.
Definitely. Okay, so let's talk about the next love language.
Okay.
So let's talk about physical touch. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory.
This is actually my lowest score in love language.
It's my favorite.
It's actually one of my husband's. It's actually one of my husband's. It's like his
primary.
His primary is quality time.
Okay.
So we have the reverse. So his is quality time and physical touch. Okay. And mine, I scored like 7%.
Oh, wow.
On it. So go on.
Okay.
My husband's my husband's like
What is yours?
My one, I would say, is giving gifts.
Okay.
Yeah, that's mine.
Yeah, mine's giving gifts. Yeah.
Okay, so
giving or
words of
receiving?
Affirmation.
Yeah, giving gifts.
Both.
Yeah, I think it's she's like, give me the affirmation. I know, right? It's in the post. But but I think in terms of it's really about I love to see him excited when he gets something. When I know it's his heart's desire, and I know that I can get that for him. I love that.
But what is his primary love language?
It's physical touch.
Okay.
He knows I love him. He knows I love him. I'll cover you at this moment, honey. But for myself, I think I'm a little bit more sort of reserved in that area, so I've had to grow.
Okay, so teach us how, because you know I'm the physical touch person. I'm like all the time.
Rubbing up the back.
You know it's not yours if it's like, get off, why are you touching me? Move over.
See, my husband was the complete opposite initially, but I think he's learned to just...
If you're one of those people that don't like, if your husband's like too close in the bed and you're shoving him, that's not yours.
Obviously, the whole point of the pandemic is that there's no physical touch outside of your household. No, so we're saying we're talking about creative ways to actually do this. So say I'm living by myself, do I just kind of start hugging myself? I think if that's your primary,
you're not getting
it's sensory. I think that's the idea behind it. So it might be sensory. So if you're living by yourself, it might be, say for instance, a fragrance that you like.
Or
you could
hot
spray.
water bottles are great. I love hot water bottles.
This isn't my love language. That's why I'm asking.
See, my husband will
get yourself a hot water bottle and
honestly, he doesn't understand it because he's like, it's so hot in the bed.
I like what you said. It's a sensory.
Yes, it is.
That's a great way to break it down. It's a sensory, and it is sometimes smell,
and also like things
lighting nice candles.
Yeah, like
well,
nice candles.
See, like I look at Luca, and he has a blanket, any soft blankie.
Yes,
it's like that sensory. So I guess that's one of his love languages.
I like rub fabric.
Yeah, you have that.
I
So
still do it.
Yeah.
So maybe
I'm a whole great adult.
Maybe if we have somebody where physical touch is their primary,
yes.
Do you then recommend that for Valentine's Day? Say I have a friend.
Fragrance.
Do I send them a bear, or do I?
I think if they want, even you know that you can get the heated warmer bears, you know the ones you put the sachet in the microwave and they could have a bear.
Do you know what it is? I think to describe physical touch, what the feeling, because I think that's what we're trying to get to.
Yeah.
What is the kind of sensation that you get from physical, like what makes you feel good? It's that kind of warm, fuzzy,
like people are saying hot water
comfort.
bottles. Who knew?
I'm telling you.
Who knew?
I've
sold hot water
the hot
bottles.
water bottle. It's a comfort.
Okay.
And I think it's that thing where you're not now like fighting
your face on it.
Yeah. No, don't do that. Don't do that. And don't name it. Don't do that. That's going to go really weird and very wrong. Don't do that.
It is a form of comfort. And as a touchy, physical touch person, I can vouch for the hot water bottle. Even when my husband is in the bed, I really like to cuddle the hot water bottle, and I think that if you can't get that physical touch from somebody, you know, in this lockdown, get yourself a hot water bottle. Honestly, it really does work.
Everyone should have one anyway.
Like, say for instance, a lot of people will be using like dressing gowns.
Yes.
So they'll be wearing, I know even though we say it's, you know, obviously being at home, but like even just wearing a dressing gown that's snuggly that you can kind of wrap up in a blanket.
Do you know what I think that you might like, Danny?
Yeah.
You know those pregnancy pillows?
Oh yeah, that's
I
still using mine.
Yeah.
One of those.
I'm not even a physical touch person. That one's got something.
Yeah. I need to order one of those.
Every husband steals them.
Really? It's a good cuddle.
I think I remember Kenichi saying Dominic's would steal hers.
Every husband steals them. Dominic stole Kenisha's. You missed that. Jason stole mine. Every husband I know steals them.
Okay, so quality time. Obviously, this is the one where I think a lot of people obviously are not getting to have that.
So I've had to get really creative
quality
with
time.
This one.
Yeah,
I've had to get really creative with this one. Probably going to ruin the surprise because my husband I think is online, but hey ho, this is my life. It's live TV, so we have to go with it. So one of the things that I had to think is, okay, how can I? And again, I've tried to think of ones that we could do everybody, and I think that this is something that's really cool. You can do just your girlfriends via Zoom. It's something that you can do as a family unit. It's something that you can do just as a couple. So I'm doing this just as a couple. My husband is about to find out what we're doing for Valentine's Day because I haven't told him.
Oh, yes, he's online. Oh, gosh. Jason, turn off.
Just switch off for a minute, honey.
Turn the volume down.
Yeah, turn the volume down.
Go make yourself a cup of tea.
Yeah,
5 minutes.
Do something.
5 minutes, come back.
Just 5 minutes. Come back. Don't ruin the surprise. Go on. Go somewhere, Jason. Go.
Say that you're off.
Yes.
Tell us
that you turned down the volume. Anyway, so my husband's online, so he's going to find out anyway. But what I've done is I've ordered a personalised apron for him. And then, and you can do this. I've just brought a few things, examples here. And so what I've done...
cookbook. It's a very good cookbook.
So I've just brought in a few things here. So I've got a picnic basket down here, which you can't really see. And basically what I've done is we've got 2 countries separating us. So there's no reason why anyone can't do this. And so what I've done is I've ordered the ingredients that he will need. Okay. I've chosen a recipe. If you can actually get a recipe book and send it to your girlfriends or
That's a good idea.
to your spouse or whoever. And obviously if we were here, we'd probably do like a picnic together or something. And then we're going to cook on FaceTime at the same time.
Nice.
And we're going to cook the same meal together. And then obviously the idea is to sit down and eat it together or whatever. So you can do this as a family. So you could have a recipe that you follow, and you could all follow it together. Just choose your favorite cuisine that everybody's gonna like. You could bake together.
Sounds nice. That sounds
you could do something, and it's a really fun way of connecting. Because you're cooking together at the same time.
So this is what quality time.
This is quality time. You're spending time with each other. You're obviously laughing, preparing the food, whatever. But then you get to eat together as well. So you're spending time together.
And I think that's great, because most people are usually sitting down while the mother is in the kitchen cooking. So this is a really, because there's so much time that you are spending in the kitchen. It would just make it, number one, take the pressure off one individual, especially as we can't go out to a restaurant on Valentine's. So rather than leave it to that one person, everybody get in the kitchen and
if
help.
you want to, you can get all of the kids their own aprons as well.
Their own little ingredients as well.
And you know, if you want to make it a bit different, you know, maybe throw down a blanket in the living room as opposed to all sitting around the dining table. Whatever, you can get as creative with it as you want. If you're doing it with your girlfriends all online, all you have to do is basically send the recipe to each other and then all go and shop for that recipe. If you want to be the one to instigate it, then you can actually post it to them or get it shipped to their house, delivered to their house, and then basically just cook together. But some people, cooking's not your thing, so you could actually do like a book. This is the book that I've just started reading now. You could do a book where you post
Everyone's
it out
asking
to all
what
your
book
friends.
is that?
Oh, sorry. This is Expect to Win. This is by Carla A. Harris. So this is the book that I've just started. So you can choose a book together, and then, you know, everyone buys that book, and then maybe read a chapter together and kind of create your own book club. There's lots and lots of different things. So you could actually buy all your girlfriends a book, post it to their house, Happy Valentine's Day, and kick off.
And that's something that you can still do, right? Because Amazon does next day delivery.
Amazon does next day delivery.
Still got time.
You've still got time.
Even emails, like an excerpt as well. Like if you wanted like a little excerpt, then you email it out.
Exactly. And the post is really funny at the moment in Australia. So I wanted something that I knew definitely we would be able to do together that day. And it's a great way.
Kenny said, "What if you both can't cook?" Well, this is a great
That's
time
where it's
to
gonna
learn.
be fun.
If you look
But if you're following
online,
a recipe, it's fairly.
well, if you go onto even like BBC Food, it actually rates them from easy, medium to hard. So like with Jason, he can cook, but you know, I don't think you know, he would necessarily. You don't want it to be where it becomes a point of frustration.
No,
so I've chosen something. He loves Thai cuisine, so I've chosen something that's really easy and straightforward. It's actually like a 15 to 20 minute prep time, and it's really straightforward. So the main thing is not even about the food. It's, remember, we're talking about quality time, so it's about actually spending quality time together. It's relatively inexpensive, and it's a great way to spend time together.
Something that we done in the first lockdown, it was myself and a couple of our friends as couples, so there was 3 couples, and we done basically a pizza making afternoon, and we literally just, you can buy the dough, the base already done, and you just kind of roll it out. But it was really fun because each couple had to make their own pizza, and then it was a competition to see who at the end of it made the best pizza. Of course we won. Lancaster's don't lose. But it was really fun. It was a really fun afternoon. That does not take any kind of skill. You can put whatever topping on it that you want.
And as long as everyone has the ingredients in their houses,
but you know, your dad went. We for my birthday did a cookery school.
Dalesford
Farm.
We love
good.
Dalesford.
But he's like,
I'd highly recommend Dalesford Farm, by the way, when everything opens up.
Yeah. But he's like totally no in the kitchen. But he managed to follow, because he was like, you do it. I said, no, I'm not doing your bit. You do it yourself. And he did, and he did great. You know, we made a starter, main course, dessert, and he's a total novice. So a cookery book, if you follow the instruction, you really can't go wrong.
So one of the major things I think with couples through this lockdown is, you know, in terms of quality time, is the creativity to prepare like date nights. I know a lot of people, I put out on my Instagram, I think a few weeks ago, you know, date night suggestions for lockdown, because it can get really repetitive, you know. I cook, it's like, okay,
non-existent.
Cooking can get very like, okay, I'm just cooking to survive now, it's not really fun anymore. So it's like, okay, and sometimes you just feel like you need to get out of the house. But you know, you may not want to spend a whole lot of money. So the other day I said to my husband, I was like, I'm just like, one of those days where you had cabin fever and you just need to get out the house. He's like, okay, let's go for a drive. So we were like, okay, let's actually do something though. So we found an abandoned car park. And we put the head. Why are you shaking your head?
Where's this going?
Why are you shaking your head? I thought it was really cute.
It's okay.
No, I thought it was really cute. So we found like an abandoned car park, and we had the headlamps on, and it was really cold. And we put the headlamps on really bright, and we put on our wedding song. And we got out.
Denise would love this. Denise and Abike would be like dying.
We got out, and we put the phone. So the phone was resting on the headlamp. So we recorded it because we obviously want to capture the memories as well. And we danced to our wedding song, and it was literally like the smallest thing.
Oh, Jerome,
he's a big softie, guys. But it was just, I think for me, it was like a very intentional. Okay, where it didn't cost any money at all. Like
that's lovely.
But it was just, I think, the thoughtfulness, and you're spending quality time. You know, and afterwards we just got back into the car and we just talked. You know, and I think it's just that. Change of scenery, and obviously I know some people have children and they can't obviously just, you know, on a whim go and do that.
Mommy, what are you and Daddy doing?
There's a child behind you.
But obviously, in the back seat.
Kill the moment.
Give them an iPad in that moment.
But there's that word you just said, just like flagged up with me. You know, change of scenery. I think that has to be one of the worst things right now, because it's so repetitive. I was reading an article today, and this guy was saying, you know, obviously with he used to get up and go to work, and then he got put on furlough, and he says he's found himself sleeping till afternoon now. And it's just, we have to just like pull ourselves up by our straps.
But I think
just,
even what you said that you did, there's nothing wrong with the kids seeing that.
No, there's not.
I think
they
that's
will
really
laugh.
beautiful.
Yeah,
like,
look at mummy and
no,
daddy.
no, but you said
Okay,
this is what me and
that's
mummy and daddy, this is what me
our
and
wedding
daddy
song.
danced to on our wedding day. And I think that
because they
again
weren't
is
there,
painting
right?
a picture for them and creating really beautiful
Memories,
moments.
Teaching them to use their imagination
Exactly,
as well.
and that's leaving a stamp on their heart. And they can even join you and do a family dance. I think that's really beautiful.
I think
mine would.
Listen, my kids come everywhere with me, so we'd all be dancing.
All of us, everybody would come in and we'd have a group.
But that's special,
because
remember they weren't there with you for your wedding,
exactly.
so that would be really
Okay, we've got
special.
10 minutes, so how many more have we got?
Okay, so we've done quality time, we've done physical touch,
Yeah.
and we have done quality time,
Acts
physical
of
touch, and
service.
acts of service.
So you've got
Words of affirmation and gifts.
That's my thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's my secondary.
This is like my primary.
Okay.
Like, if you give me the most amazing gift and you haven't put a card with it,
I'm the same.
like for me, I'm like the easiest person to please. Jason, you put your volume back up. I'm like the easiest
can't hear
person to please. Someone tell Jason to put his volume back up.
Jason!
Come back. Just send me a text message in the morning.
Yeah.
Just send me a text message.
Yeah.
Don't think it, say it.
See, I'm a voice note person, so send me nice voice notes throughout the day. That it does. It changes. It lifts your mood. It just affirms that, you know, you're appreciated, you're loved. Like everyone needs to hear that they're appreciated. You're doing a good job. You're loved. You know. It's just, I think everybody, especially if your love language is, and if you don't know what your love language is,
You can do the test.
you can do the test. It takes about 5 minutes. I think it's
Google love language.
Yeah, if you just Google love language test, then you can obviously find what your love language is. But I think words of affirmation really just it is what it says. It just affirms that person, that they are loved, that they are appreciated, that they are wanted, and don't ever take for granted that somebody just knows.
And
I think everybody needs this. You know, I think
whether it's your love language or not.
I think, but it's somewhere in everybody's love language, and you know, please don't leave things. I was, you know, when we were online, we were all online. for Bishop Miller's funeral, there were so many comments. You know, I was reading all the comments going up. You know, what they thought of him, but how many of those people, you know, including our members that were on, how many actually said those things or wrote it on a note? You know, you may not have had the opportunity to get close enough to say those things to an individual, but we leave it too late. So do it now. Do cards. I'm old-fashioned. I love written, not text. I don't want a text. I don't want an email.
But for those that can't do that in the
I know, but you can write and you can post it.
You can send an email. You can text.
You know, I love those movies like what's that?
The Notebook.
The Notebook.
My favourite.
She's got this
pile of letters.
stack of letters.
My husband's not a romance movie. I think you should do that.
If my husband's watching, I love, and I know that may not be your thing, but I love notes. I don't know what love language that falls under, but I love notes.
Words of affirmation.
To be honest, I think a lot of the love languages lend to each other. I think that a note writing, for example, oh look, Faster's coming. Just do that.
I want it posted. I want a stamp on it. I want a stamp on it.
This is very much live.
Someone's asking if this is live. Yes. Can you
Yes,
not tell?
we're live.
Can you not tell?
So I think the different love languages lend to each other. So I think, for example, if you're writing a note, you're being really thoughtful. So it's an act of service, and you're also affirming that person. So I think that a lot of them you can kind of do multi.
But you know, we usually give people our love language. Because whenever I would write notes to your dad, and it was like,
I'm the same. I'm the same with Jerome. I'll write cute cards all the time, and
let's give them, because we're running out of time. So what can we do in this lockdown for someone that is words of affirmation? I can think of a few. Leaving notes everywhere for our kids in their lunch boxes if they are going to school, or even, you know, when they're about to start their lesson, you know, if they're going online for their lesson, just on their computer.
I'm proud of you.
I'm proud of you.
You put it in places that they're going to find it.
You can do it for spouses, you know, where you know that they're going to open up, especially when everyone's working at home. How nice when you open up your laptop and there's a little note.
I used to even do it with your dad
you.
when he went up to preach. I put it in his notes on the scripture.
I used to do that with Jason, where I put it in his Bible because I knew at some point he would open that and he would see it. I think that those little things are really practical. All you need is a piece of paper and a pen. Doesn't really cost you anything. What other creative ways can we?
I was going to say, in terms of like just choosing every day to say something kind.
Just
one, you know, and like, so for instance, if you
just make that decision.
You just have every day. I'm just going to say something kind to you, no matter what you've said, done, no matter how you've treated. You know, I'm just going to say something really kind. And I think also as well, just in terms of being present when you are affirming. I think not being busy, not being, so if you're talking to your child, be present, be looking at them, be listening to their responses, so that they know that's really good. Settling and anchoring.
And I think don't presume that people know they're doing a good job. I don't presume that they know that you love them. You know, don't wait, like you just said, don't wait till it's too late. Say it. You can never go wrong with words of affirmation. I don't think anyone's going to be like, why are you saying that? Like, just say it.
Also, you can never say it enough. I think that's the thing. I think with love, you can never give too much. And I think that's the really important thing about love, is that it's never enough. You can forever keep giving. And you can forever be creative.
We suck it up like a sponge. You know, everybody needs it. You know, when people get love, it's like we just need it. Even the hardest people who pretend that they don't need it, we need it to thrive.
So we've done words of affirmation, we've done quality time,
gifts,
we've done so it's the last
one is gifts. And I think that, you know, obviously everyone's in a different financial position, especially in this lockdown. You know, you may not be able to buy something elaborate or expensive. Gifts don't have to be expensive. They don't have to be elaborate. Like, you can set yourself a budget. For example, if you're a couple, you can say, okay, you know, we're going to spend £20. Be creative and see what you come up with. And it's really then about thinking, okay, how do I now show this person and give them a gift, let them know that they're loved, but on a budget. And I think that that's so much more exciting, because then I know, because it's easy to just go and, like, my husband, his safe zone is buy her a bag or buy her a pair of shoes. He knows that I'll appreciate it. But actually, if you're on a budget and that doesn't allow for that, now be creative. Let's see how well you know me, and actually, be thoughtful about it. And I think thoughtful gifts are the best gifts.
As well, if you know someone that's by themselves, you can always do like a drive-by where you sellotape a bag of Skittles to their front door with thinking about you. You know, that's something you're not breaking. You know, unless they live in Devon, you're not breaking social distancing rules or whatever. You know, just literally leave them something, their favourite chocolate or, you know, a bag of Skittles or whatever else, or a box of chocolates, leave it there for them with a little note. I think that's a really lovely way to give a gift that's not expensive, but that will make someone feel really special that day.
Absolutely.
And can I just add in there, you know, we know when, like, people that's close to us, when it's their birthday, when it's a special occasion, you know, Sarah had the little buckets. Maybe you can do a bucket where you just put aside so that you're never short when it comes to that moment of a gift. It can be a jar, you can have a jar. Next thing is what's coming up next, a birthday. So you've got weeks, months sometimes, and just put away a little something so it's never like a last minute. And then you can look at what you have managed to save and say, you know what, let me think about what they're really going to appreciate. My husband has a lot of things, so for me it's like Christmas is like so challenging, or his birthday, and I've got to really dig deep to find something that's going to really be thoughtful and something useful. But I prepare in advance so I can afford to be able to do those things. So plan in advance, it really helps.
I was going to add as well that when I first got married, we did gifts for under £5.
Oh, wow.
And we had to be creative on Amazon, so we used to get like little money holders and have them engraved.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like a little wallet thing for him to have it engraved as well. So that was really, and it's like under £5. And it was, you know, he never used it. It's okay, I'm not offended. But I think in terms of the idea behind it, you know, it was just the fact of just being creative with the little you have.
So we hope that all the tips and tricks that we've shared with you today will help you to see that COVID doesn't have to change you for the negative.
Don't let it change you.
Don't let it change you for the negative. Utilise this time to really make it count. Utilise this time to really make it something special. Utilise this time to impact the lives of those around you. And let's, in this season, yes, Valentine's Day is a commercialised day, but we should never reject an opportunity to show love to others. So this is our love episode. We hope that you're feeling inspired and that this day and every day will be an opportunity where you can express that love to all of those around you.
Absolutely.
And if no one's told you today that they love you, or that you don't have anyone on Sunday to say they love you, we want to let you know we love you. We thank you for tuning in and supporting Girl Talk. We love you. We appreciate you. Happy Valentine's.
Happy Valentine's Day. Join us next week at 8:30. We're going to be talking all things health, right?
Yes.
So we're going to be talking
specialists on.
So we're going to be talking about women's health. So any questions that you have, feel free to shoot them over to us. Anything about women's health. So we'll see you guys next week at 8:30.
Girl Talk. Bye.